It's a great privilege to be here in Portland to talk about a subject that's near and dear, and it should be to every single person in this room, and that is clean water. So Crystal Clear Technologies cleans wastewater. Without question, we should all count our blessings we live in Portland, Oregon, and the word water stress really isn't on the front burner. Unfortunately, severe water issues are global, and half of our planet lives in water stress on a daily basis. That's 4 billion people. And I must admit that the developed world is no exception. All you have to do is look in California for water management and supply issues with a 4-year drought. And I will say Flint, Michigan is still on the forefront, and they've clearly demonstrated that 100-year-old infrastructure can deliver lead in every glass of tap water. Contamination by toxic metals is a huge problem. For the most part, they're invisible. And CCT has built a reputation on solving large-scale, difficult metal removal problems. So I'm going to pick on 3 metals: selenium, lead, and nickel. And where can you get a large supply of those? Selenium is from coal mining in the coal-fired power plant industry, selenium, arsenic, and mercury. Nickel, I'm sorry to report, is from the food processing industry. And lead, I repeat, with Flint, Michigan, just demonstrated with 100-year-old infrastructure, lead pipe and lead solder routinely shows up in all of tap water in America. I'm really hoping Portland's an exception to that. Our solutions are patented and proprietary. We're protected with 6 patents and 22 trade secrets, and there's quite a bit of additional intellectual property that is coming through and out of the patent office. And we've come up with an extremely simple solution. The second largest natural resource on planet Earth is chitin. You are looking at a jar of ground up crab and shrimp shells, and we take this, it's a waste product from the canning industry, and we take this waste product, better known as chitosan, and we bond onto it our patented nano coatings, and we transform this waste product into a very high capacity absorptive media capable of removing dissolved metals from even a complex waste stream, and we'll get into that in a minute, in 5 minutes. The metals do not leach off our material, and therefore we do not generate a hazardous waste. We terminate a hazardous waste for an end generator. It's not easy to do. So our lead customer and our target industry is the power plant industry. And in specific, we're talking about selenium removal from power plant wastewater. We have had tremendous hard-earned validation and traction. Arizona State University, Dr. Candace Chan's laboratory, just in 2014, screened 38 selenium removal technologies that could be applied to the power plant industry for their customer, who turns out to be our lead customer, the Salt River Project. SRP is a large municipal utility in Arizona, and they are being proactive with solving a problem they have that just came into regulation in 2016. Crystal Clear's technology emerged out of the screening of 38 as the best selenium removal technology, and by far. That earned us a funded field pilot that starts June 2016, is going to run 6 to 12 months, out at the Santan generating plant for SRP. Well, I'm here to tell you that got the Electric Power Research Institute's attention. They are the gatekeeper for the power plant industry and one of the most powerful lobbyists in the United States. And EPRI's been testing technologies for selenium and metal removal for at least 10 years. CCT has gotten the nod from EPRI that we do in fact have a technology that can remove metals and meet the power plant's need. And we've been granted a pilot at the Water Resource Center in Atlanta, Georgia. This all got the attention of a small company out in Trevose, Pennsylvania by the name of GE Power and Water. And I can see why. They've been tracking us since November 2014. Crystal Clear Technologies is the winner of the Clean Tech Open in 2006 for the best clean, green, sustainable, emerging technology for water. We have competitively won 4 SBIR grants from the National Science Foundation, and we've also been awarded a GAP grant from ONAMI. So why on earth is it the power plants? I mean, Flint, Michigan was just in the papers. Lead going, in the drinking water. So why the power plants? The power plants have not seen a change in regulation on the water side since 1982. They also use 70% of all available water. 70%. That outflanks everyone who's drinking tap water. That outflanks agriculture. And they're also the largest contributor to pollutants. And they came under regulation because the Sierra Club sued the EPA and won, and those regulations went into effect on January 4th of this year. Well, let's just say there's quite a buzz going on in the power plant market space, but the SRP knew this was coming, and they have been proactive. So they're going to have to pull metals out to below 10 part per billion. Allow me to point that out, that is tighter regulations than drinking water. There's about 569 coal-fired power plants in the United States. There's 8,000 worldwide. And I am in agreement that some of these are probably going to go out, based on some of these regulations. But coal is here to stay. It may not be for the United States in my lifetime, but it is for the planet. The power plant industry is going to be spending about $2 billion a year between now, and they are making capital decisions now, between now and 2023. And Crystal Clear's target is to get 10% of that market, $200 million a year, by the compliance deadline. And the reason we have this opportunity is because we happen to have come up with a superior value proposition. So out in Arizona, SRP, the plant that they want to run the field pilot with Crystal Clear, has a tiny flow rate of 8,500 gallons a minute. That is a big flow rate coming at you. The current leading incumbent technology is owned by GE Power and Water. It's called ABMET. It's a biological system. And it requires a 2-hour retention time. And it requires nutrients. And it requires quite a bit of capital equipment. And if you can do the math of 8,500 gallons a minute by 2 hours, unfortunately, they don't have a lake to put the water in. Crystal Clear's NMX technology has the ability to remove ionized metals from a complex waste stream, and I can assure you what they're washing out of a coal-fired power plant is, in fact, a complex waste stream. It can remove ionized metals to the discharge limits in 5 minutes. There's a very large difference between 2 hours and 5 minutes. As a result, the capital equipment required for the NMX technology is 70% less than for a bioreactor. The OPEX cost is 20% less. It's pretty simple to operate. You put it in a vessel and you turn on a pump and you give it a 5-minute retention time. I cannot say that for a bioreactor because you actually have to feed the bugs. Our technology terminates liability because we do not generate a hazardous waste. Metals do not leach off our material as defined by the T-clip test and federal law. The waste coming out, the sludge coming out of a bioreactor is off to a Class 1 disposal site because it is a hazardous waste. The other advantage we have is the fact that you can start and stop our system, and not all power plants are running 365 days a year. Some are peak load facilities. You do not start and stop a biological system. So based on retention time, based on the fact that it's not start-stop, those are 2 primary reasons that Crystal Clear has earned the field-funded pilot at the SRP power plant. So what kind of business model are we going to have? We're going to sell razor blades. We're going to put together the engineered system for the specifications and the kinetics for NMX. And we're going to hand out those engineering specifications and what an equipment design is to the engineering firms and the power plants responsible for putting together turnkey systems. And once those systems are built, They're built around the specifications for NMX, and they'll be purchasing our absorptive media on an annual basis. In 2016, we're looking at revenues of $215,000. We're going to be adding several customers between now and 2020 with a $25 million revenue coming up in 2020 at a 35% gross margin. We've got a stellar team. Ron Epperson is the CEO in the chair. He's got 20 years chemical engineering experience at Dutch Shell, 3 startups. He's brought 7 new chemical products online. Dr. Joel Shertock is production manager. What a lucky find for us. He was the CTO for Graver Technologies. As it turns out, Graver has the leading arsenic removal media that surfaced to the top. And he set up global manufacturing. The company was purchased by Warren Buffett in 3 years. I've been in the water treatment field for 30 years, and I have worked on every type of water that's out there. And I've done it as a field engineer. I built a manufacturing company and sold it to Siemens years ago. And we're also lucky that Dr. Candace Chan at Arizona State University is on our scientific board. And she and her world-class laboratory are testing materials for crystal clear, helping us screen them, and leading the way for our products and services. If you're going to execute in the largest market space, the power plants, you're going to need a stellar team that can execute, and Crystal Clear has one. We have taken no dilutive capital to date, and we're going to use funding for completing the SRP field trials. We want to bring on additional field trials. It will require addition of technical staff. And we certainly have a scale-up manufacturing hurdle to get over. We're going to be capital light as we are outsourcing production. Dr. Shertock's got a deep relationship with our contract manufacturing partner, which is looking to be Kodak. And our exit options will most likely be a sale to an existing water technology company. Our technology and IP profile is pretty vast. And another option is to license out the technology for selenium removal to the power plants and continue to develop other applications. And I'd also like to take just one moment. Not all metals are considered hazardous waste. Last I looked, when we mined them out of planet Earth, we thought it was a resource, and then we used them, and then it became a waste. And now we're all in a flutter about what to do with the waste. Crystal Clear Technologies owns and has developed the intellectual property with the University of Oregon for a metal layering technology. It has the ability to bond multiple layers of metal to the same substrate. So what would happen if you could do that? This is a 5/9 pure ingot of copper harvested from the Berkeley Pit in Butte, Montana, which I'm sorry to point out is the largest toxic waste dump site on planet Earth, and you can see it from the International Space Station. But instead of having a cubic mile of toxic waste, we have the technology to harvest metal for a beneficial use. And last I looked, copper is really not considered a waste product. I think it's a resource.
I hate to cut you off there, but we want one question at least, and we are at time. So
bring it on.
Make a good one, fellas.
Lisa, congratulations on landing your first customer and your first revenue.
Thank you very much.
In competing with General Electric, an investor worries that you might not be that capital efficient. About how much more capital do you think you will need before you reach cash flow break even? And how are you going to be capital efficient?
We are in the process of raising $750,000. And we're going to be capital light because we are not going to take the money and build a chemical manufacturing plant.
Thank you.
Outstanding. Thank you, guys.